Good morning, hi, and welcome to our Monday morning coffee and card making. So normally before lockdown I'd be over in Toaster and we'd be doing some card making at a lovely little restaurant bar in Toaster, but obviously not to be at the moment, so you'll just have to put up with me on my own here today. Morning Molly, Carol and Pauline, lovely to have you join me this morning. So typically at Coffee and Card we would do some simple cards so that it's suitable for all levels, whether it's a beginner walking in off the street or an experienced crafter. And typically at Coffee and Card we would make 2 cards. So today I thought I would use a new stamp set, as you can see, called Fancy Phrases. And what I like about this particular set is the sentiments. I like the style of the sentiments and also all of the messages. So we've got birthday wishes in a nice font, little something just for you, when I count my blessings, and then to go with those you've got I count you twice, and then sending a little smile your way. May your day be filled with heartfelt happiness, and keep it in case you need it sometime. So you could put that with sending a little smile your way or a little something just for you. And then, as you can see, there are 2 floral images, so they're quite sketched, so very easy to colour in because it's not very defined fine lines, so it's quite easy to do my colouring in method of just scribbling, for want of a better description. Hi Jane, hi Jeanette, and Laura, hi, Tracy and Carol. So I don't know if you can hear the wind is still howling a gale out there. So this is what we're going to be doing, and I've got 2 designs. One is where I'm stamping over the actual card itself and then just adding a sentiment, and then the other one will be stamping and colouring in. That's the plan. Okay, so Fancy Phrases, it's £20, so it stands alone. It doesn't have any matching dies or anything else, but I think it's a really useful set if you haven't got a base floral image and some, everyday sentiments, nice friendly sentiments. So, out of my stash, I've picked, there's a mark on there, let's put that on the back, a pool party base card, and I've got Misty Moonlight. So my plan for my first card is to stamp all the way over and then just stamp a sentiment on a die cut piece that I have ready, and I've got some Misty Moonlight darker card to put behind it. So it's going to go like that. That's the plan. So what I want to do is stamp all the way over this. I don't want to go over the crease, and equally I don't want to stamp on here like that, because with a folded card, okay, especially if you haven't scored it properly or used a bone folder, it does move up and down. So when you come to put the stamp on, this is where you can get the image moving around. So what I'm going to do is open that up and take one of my large post-it notes and put the post-it note on what would be the back of the card. I've torn it a little bit there. Let's just lift that up. What I'm going to do is use that better bit. I'm not quite sure why I tore it off the pad quite like that. Let me turn it around because it's in shadow. That's better. I can see what I'm doing now. So just placing, finally, the post-it note along that edge so that I can stamp all over here, going off onto the grid paper as well, and know that it won't go onto the back. You could, of course, do it over the whole thing and have the design front and back if you wished. So I've got Misty Moonlight here, and I have already mounted the index label and the stamp onto my block, but I do need to wipe it. And I came in here with my chamois already. What do you think I've done with it, folks? No, I didn't. I went into the kitchen with the chamois. Sorry about that. Just as well I don't live in a big house, isn't it? Okay, I have no idea what colour ink was on there. So let's wipe that off. Okay, so all I'm going to do is position this around my paper. I'm going to rotate the stamp. Okay, normally I would rotate the paper, but as I've got my post-it note on there, I'm just going to rotate the stamp. So it's quite a big stamp. So I'm going to take the ink pad to the stamp. And you could use any combination of colours, so you don't have to have them the same. So this is obviously shades of blue. Just get rid of that little bit there. I was a bit exuberant with my work there. So I'm just going to start here, not in any particular place. I just know I didn't want it sort of full on and then have two little gaps around the edge. So there you can see it stamped, and I'm just going to rotate the stamp as I go round. Morning Baz, morning Maureen, morning Moretta and Jill, Babsy. So and hi Anthony. So Babsy and Jill would normally be with me at Toaster when we're doing coffee and card. So I think what I'm going to do is this one here. So I've rotated that round like so. Now we do have the smaller floral stamp, so I could use that in between, but I'm just going to have this one all over, I've decided. And I'm inking up the whole stamp, even though I'm only using a part of it, because if you think, oh, I'll just use that end and ink it up, and then without realising you rotate it, you might find that you haven't inked up the bit that you really wanted. So this is a really pretty, it's a mixture of sort of roses and blossom. So I don't know in reality what it is, but it's very sweet. Reminds me of another set we had where this was huge stamp. Okay, and then I'm just going to do these little infills on the edges. And I'm just going to move this round. So there's that bit there. I'm going to put a little one on there. As I say, you could use the little stamp for those if you wanted to, and a little bit up here. So really pretty, and I'm being fairly accurate with my stamping, but you know, you could just literally take a piece of A4 card and, you know, just start stamping over the whole thing and then cut it down and use it as a front. That would be quicker, because obviously I'm considering where all these edges are going, and I really want something on this edge to make it look less like it's just finished. And let's have a leaf at the top. So I'm not going to colour these in, they're just going to stay exactly as they are, tone on tone, like so. I feel like I want something in there. There we go, let me wipe that stamp off with my chamois. Morning Carol, with an E. And Baz often joins us for coffee and card in toaster as well. So just going to peel that post-it note off so that I've got a nice front section there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp a sentiment and maybe a little bit of the flower onto here and layer those up. So you could either put those centrally, or you could put them to one side. You could rotate the whole card. Because I've turned the flowers round, it wouldn't matter which way this card went. If you'd stamped all the flowers in the same direction, I think it could be a little bit more obvious which way round you'd want that card to go. So the nice thing about this is you can stamp it and then decide where to put your sentiment. So let's see what sentiments we have. I'm thinking a little something just for you. Da -da. There we go. Grab a block for that. I do like the style. I'm very partial to the mixture of capitals and handwritten, especially where the capital letters are the beginning. For us in the UK, we don't like sentences and things beginning with a lowercase, or at least I don't anyway. Okay, so I'm going to put a little something just for you. Let me just stamp this separately. See how straight I've got it. Not very straight at all, as you can see. Oh, you can't see, it's probably off the end. Now I turn that over, you can see how that's all disappearing downhill. Let me try that again. So I'm just lining up the block, not the image on the stamp. Sorry, my hand's in the way. That's a little bit better. Okay, let's give it a go. I have spares if I need to. So these are the stitched rectangle shapes. So it's got this lovely design on the side. This is the one that went with Free as a Bird. I just want to see. So I put that in the centre, like so. So it's worth stamping just to understand that it was leaning a little bit. Because this is not straight, it's quite difficult sometimes to line that up. So it's always worth stamping off, especially on some grid paper, and then you can see how straight it's going to be. Doesn't always work, of course. I can still make it go wonky. Yes, I am too, Baz. I have to find out when 185 are operating, even if we just meet up for coffee and not any crafting. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this detail. So I'm thinking I'm going to have this top section here. Make sure I've got the right bit. On one side, like that. Let me move this over so you can see it. And then a little bit here on the left hand side. So I'm going to use these leaves here. Like so. Sorry, it's quite a big stamp with my hand in the way. You can't really see what I'm doing. There we go. Morning Verity and morning to Linda. Thank you for joining me today. So we're using fancy phrases. So we're doing what I would normally do at a coffee and card. So this is the background stamp. This is the stamp set for anybody who's just joined us. So this is one of the new ones. Lovely sentiments. Really do like it. Like when I count my blessings as well. So what I'm going to do is pop this onto here, like so. Just using my Seal Plus. That's it. That's all it needs. And then these layer really nicely. So they're not quite concentric because they have it's not even all the way around. As it gets bigger, it goes out that way, but not in the same dimension as it goes height-wise, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to pop this onto here with some dimensionals, and I'm just going to decide which way around to put it. I think that works particularly well. There for me, there's too much of a gap here. I could add in some enamel dots, of course. So I think I'm going to put it there because it gives me a nice, that sort of 3 large items there. So let me just grab my dimensionals, pop those on. So I've just got 3. Hi Ruth, nice to have you join us, thank you. So I'm just going to pop that on there. Let me turn this over because it's rather distracting, isn't it? Like so. So nice easy coffee and card. And I'm going to stamp the same flowers on the inside. So just going to open that up. And as I said, I've used Misty Moonlight for this one. Just as a contrast to the pool party. But I think this would look lovely in lots of combinations of colours. You could do it in all of the in colours. I think that would be nice too. So I'm just going to turn this one round. Just want to get this sort of main image almost like it's supposed to be in the corner. Like that. There we go, for the inside. And you could do the same on the envelope, so you have a complete coordinating card. There we go. Let's just use my bone folder to flatten that properly. And where possible, I use the bone folder on the back, just so that if there's any mark or anything, you don't transfer it to the front of your card. You can see how nicely that's sitting. So there we go. There's the first of our 2 coffee and card designs. So very simple, just straightforward stamping over the background of the main card itself. And if you're not confident in doing that, you could do it on a smaller layer, stamp all the way over and then layer that up if you prefer. And this was the set that we're using fancy phrases. So let's step it up a little bit and do a little bit of colouring with this one. So that one I'm going to leave like that, so monochrome, all one set of colours. Now I'm going to go bright, and I'm going to go, so 2 more in colours, Magenta Madness and Just Jade. And what I'm going to do is stamp all over here, but I'm going to stamp in black and then colour it in, and then add a sentiment. So this time I'm just using a white layer, and the colours I've chosen for colouring in are Magenta Madness and Just Jade, and these are some of the new pens. So I literally opened these yesterday, so those are the Matching Blends pens. So let me put these layers aside for the moment, and I'm going to stamp with Memento Black. You could stamp with any of our Stampin' Up main colours as well. Let me put that there because it's trying to focus, isn't it? Come on. After the event a little bit, wasn't it? Right. So I've cleaned my stamp. And again, I'm going to take the ink pad to the stamp, because it is quite a big stamp and I want to make sure that I've coated it properly. So this is Memento Black. This would also be nice in early espresso. I was quite tempted with that, but Memento came to hand quicker. So I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm just going to position this one slightly differently though, just for a change. And now, because I'm working on a smaller piece, I'm actually going to rotate the card, not the stamp. So you can see the sort of scribble design, which is even better for my scribble colouring in. There we go. Hi Monica. Thank you, Ruth. So just literally moving this around on the background, and then obviously re-inking every time, because you don't want any solid lines where you've caught the edges or anything. Go. Reminds me almost of some French sort of toile paper, that sort of thing, where it's, you know, slightly coloured in. I missed a bit in the middle, I can see that now. Go. Oh, and drop my Memento ink pad. So let's do that there. And luckily my pad landed the right way up. That was a stroke of luck, wasn't it, really? So although I'm only doing a little bit, I'm still inking up in case I do this and rotate it round and use a different bit. There we go. Okay, so there's my front layer that has been stamped all over. And then what I'm going to do is use some Blends pens to colour that in. And then I'm going to add a strip sentiment this time, I think. So I was guided by the in colours. So what I'm going to do is use Magenta Madness and Just Jade. I've got the light and dark blends of each of those. I've also got Dark Flirty Flamingo, just to see if I wanted a bit of a lighter pink, because it's really deep magenta pink, hot pink almost. So let's do what I normally do and start with the leaves, because then I can see what's left for the flowers. And to be honest, because a lot of this shading is done for you, you only need to scribble over. You don't actually need to do a great amount of shading of the leaves, because it's a lot of it is covered up. I think that was a flower bud, but never mind. That's that one. There we go. I'm bound to miss some, aren't I? Almost certainly. Is that in focus for you? Just about, the looks of things. So I am just using the fine end, but to be honest, if you want to do this quicker, you could do it with the wider tip. Let me just bring that in a little bit. And let's just try it with the wider one so you can see. It's quite a bit quicker because you've got a broad edge to play with. So I tend to do that to pick out the leaves first. I don't know why, I've just always done it that way. I think maybe because I used to be nervous of colouring in flowers, and therefore do the leaves, and that gets you going, sort of gets you into the scheme of it. I don't know, who knows. Anyway, I can make that a leaf. I think I've got most of them. I think some of them are quite forgiving that they could be either. You're probably all shouting at me saying, "You missed one, you've missed one." Hi Joe. Oh yes, Carol, I use Memento Black. It just needs to be a non-alcoholic one, so you don't want to use StazOn, but you could use any of the other Stampin' Up colours as well. I usually use Early Espresso, so you want a dye-based ink will work perfectly. You just don't want an alcohol-based one like StazOn. Okay, so those are my leaves. I'll just put a little bit of detail in so you can see the darker jade and see whether it makes a difference. But if you were making a card in a hurry, then I would, especially if you had to make a lot of them, I wouldn't worry too much about the extra shading. So you can see it, it does show, doesn't it? You can use the guidelines that the Stampin' Up designer has given you, where the dark lines are. So yeah, that does make it stand out a little bit more, doesn't it? And then, excuse me, you could go back over with this if you wished. But it's such a small area, you don't really need to do a lot of blending. You can do more blending with the flowers. So let's hit the flowers. So I've got light and dark magenta. So I'm going to use the dark one first over these areas here. And I'm doing a very small feathering motion. You can't really see it, but like so. Normally it would be more pronounced, but because there's a lot of artwork on here, it's less so. So I'll do this set first and then I'll finish off the others. So darker where those lines are, like so. There we go. And then I'm going to use Have a look at Flirty Flamingo and see what it looks like. Let's just try the other end. And then blend with the magenta. Just want these for the centres really. Could do the buds light. Like so. There we go. And then I'll use the light Magenta Madness to blend those both together. So I've got the very dark and the relatively light, like so. Make sure I've got the light one, which I have. So because this is one large area, I'm actually just going to work my way around it like so. And then just going over those joins with a circular motion where it comes to the other colours I've added. So I'll say this is a really forgiving stamp set. If you're not keen on colouring, I reckon you could do this in one colour and get away with it. I really do. This is certainly bright pink. There we go. Voila. I think I've got all of that. Yep. I'm not going to bother colouring in the stalks. There's such a fine amount of detail here. I'm just going to leave those as is. I could use the jade green or a bit of espresso or soft suede or something to colour that in, but I'm happy with it as is. Oh yes, Carol, well done. So I would definitely I definitely tend to on the side of early espresso than black where I can. So having done that one there, I'm just going to do these other ones here really quickly. So this is my Scribble Technique, and as I say, if you're not a big fan of colouring in, A, do it like we did the first one, or B, just take a single colour. Because there's inbuilt shading with these black lines, I think you can get away with it. So I'm just going to do these really quickly. So you don't get too bored. It's a shame on Facebook Live that you can't do a pause and then a hurry through and then come back and watch it. You can on replay, I suppose, can't you? Oh, there's a missing leaf there, but somebody was shouting at me for that. So just taking the dark magenta over the particularly dark areas, like so. Let me do that leaf before I forget. 1, 2 leaves, plural. And let's just use the light right the way over. So using the broader tip for speed as much as anything, and coverage. I know that should be a leaf, it's close enough. I definitely think for this, although this is really pretty coloured in, I think this stamping in a single colour is really effective. You know, that is the way to make quick cards. But if you love colouring in, then, you know, carry on and do it this way. This would be quite good for spotlight technique, where you could stamp a whole load of them and just colour a single one. That would be quite effective. This would also be nice in yellows, purples, pale and bright blue. Any of those really. So let's say I'm being a bit blasé about this colouring in, only because you don't need to see me do it a minute at a time. There we go. You could leave some of the flowers uncoloured for a different effect as well. But there we go. Pretty blossom. It's more like a camellia than it is a rose. Who knows? Okay, so the layers that I pre-cut for this are to match the layers of the blends pens. And that's because I wanted to try them out, because they arrived on Friday and I hadn't had a chance to try them out. So I've got Magenta Madness base card, I've got Just Jade layer. Okay, this is 1/2 centimetre shorter, and then this one is 1/2 centimetre shorter again. Okay, and then I'm going to put a strip sentiment on this one because I don't want to cover up that wonderful colouring I've done. So I've got Sending a Little Smile Your Way, I think would work nicely. Let me just see if that small flower left hand. Oh yes, thank you. Hi Jacqueline. Hello Marlene. Oh. Thank you for that one. Glad somebody's awake. Right, Light Magenta Madness. So yes, just a single one in colour would look nice, and just a single colour all over is also nice. I'm sure there's more detail in there, to be honest, that you could pick out if you wanted to. So now I'm going to stamp my sentiment, Sending a Little Smile Your Way, and I think I'm going to do it in magenta. Just a bit more interesting than black. So let me put this to one side. So here's my Magenta Madness. Here's an offcut. Looks roughly straight. That's a bit of a miracle. So just inking this up. Just going to stamp it to see how straight it looks. Yeah, that's not bad. Move that out of the way. And I'm just going to move it in a little bit, and then that will give me a choice as to what I want to do with it. There we go. Sending a Little Smile Your Way. Yep, that looks pretty, doesn't it? So you could have it right the way across, but this is not a particularly tidy piece of paper card. So what I'm actually going to do is, I think, just cut it and have it to one side. Maybe I'll put a little flag end on there. So let's pop this card together, and I think I will also stamp the flower on the inside, and I'm actually going to stamp it in magenta, so I've got tone on tone. Sorry if my arm was right in the way there. Turn this round so I've got that corner again like that. There we go. So there's the inside, and then let's layer this up. I'll put my ink pad away first. Oh, thank you, Baz. Thank you everybody for your lovely comments. I do like it when you get a simple stamp set that is very good for beginners, because you've got such nice sentiments with it, and it's not difficult to colour in, and you can just use it literally with one ink. So let me find my seal and put these layers together. So I'm going to pop that onto there first. You can tell it's a new pen because the inks come right the way through, but it is designed to do that. Okay, so this is going on to just Jade. So, and then on to Magenta Madness. And again, at this point you could decide which way round you wanted it. If you wanted it to go this way, for example, that would also work. I feel that's slightly top heavy, so this would work. Okay, so any combination really. Make sure I've got that the right way around now. And I think like that. I'm thinking probably down the bottom. I was thinking there because there's a bit of a gap running through, but actually I think I prefer it down the bottom. So let's put this layer on, and then I'll put that on at the end. There we go. So just hovering above with my fingers held underneath the card, and then just releasing each of the fingers in turn, so it doesn't drop and then suddenly go in a different direction. Let's get some scissors. I'm just going to cut that for the right hand side, and I'll just cut a quick banner on the left. It's slightly smaller than that. So if you haven't got a punch to hand, just cut up from the centre and then cut in from the two corners. Like so. There we go. That's it. Now this looks a bit wonky to me, having done all of that. No, straight. This will just be my eyesight maybe. And I'm going to pop that up on dimensionals. And that will be our 2 coffee and card cards done. So I'm going to pop 3 on there because it's quite a thin strip and I want it supported all the way along. And of course I do have the matching in colour enamel dots, so I think I might add a few of those. I'm going to put this to the green layer. Like that. And let's see if they're to hand. Goodness me. Okay, that's all I've got left till I get another packet opened. Thank you, Monica. So I've got some, oh no, there's some more there, look. Whew. Saved. So I've got some pink ones and some jade ones I could put on there. Do you think a mixture? Or just pink or just jade? Let me know what you think. Can't quite decide. If I bring this one back in. Let me move that out of the way. So what do you think? Should I add some enamel dots to either or both? Thank you, Jeanette. Jill says just jade. Yes, I think I'm with you on that because there's a lot of pink there already, and that would bring in the jade. 1, 2, 3 of the leaves, wouldn't it? And then we've got in the magenta 1, 2, 3. Okay, you have spoken. And do I need anything on that one, or shall I leave that plain? Actually, I could add some Wink of Stella. That would work, wouldn't it? So let's just do some just jade. So I've got 1. 2. 3. Molly said both. Baz says she loves the first card. Yes, I think I do too. But they're just different, aren't they? I mean, if you looked at a glance, when this is coloured in, it looks a lot smaller than that, doesn't it? Which is really weird. Really weird. I don't quite understand that. There we go. No, I think I'm going to leave that one there, but I might put a little bit of Wink of Stella on any of those flowers, really, if I can find it. There we go. Thanks, Jeanette. Lovely to have you join us. Really appreciate it. So I've got a bit of Wink of Stella. Squeeze the barrel, make sure it's there. Oh yes, it's there all right. So I can add this, oops, to our flowers here. Oops, I squeezed the barrel a little bit too hard there. I'll move that round. There we go. So you do need to squeeze it if it's been sat for a long time, and you do need to shake it first as well, so that the glitter moves around in the pen. Otherwise it just sits on the bottom. There we go. It's that one. I think I'm going to leave that. Just going to do the big flowers. That one there. And that one there. And when this dries, it's very glittery. There we are. So just do the large flowers for that. There we go. So there's our 2 cards from Coffee and Card. If I do them at an angle, you might see that better. So Fancy Phrases was what we used today. It is £20 for the whole stamp set, and as I say, some nice sentiments to go with it. So thank you for joining me today. I will be back tomorrow, Tuesday, at 3 PM in the afternoon. So thank you so much for joining me. All of my videos from last week's Facebook Lives are uploaded to YouTube. So if you want to see them on there, you can just go to YouTube and search for Jenny McCormac or Gemini Crafts, and you'll find me on there. So thank you so much for joining me, everybody. I hope you have a good week. Stay safe and look after each other, won't you? And do keep crafting. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.